You're coming with us. Don't scream. The voice came from behind, cold and flat. Zara barely had time to register the words before a hand clamped over her mouth. She bit down hard, tasted leather, and drove her elbow backward. It connected with something solid. A grunt. The hand loosened. She ran. Seoul University's library parking lot stretched empty under flickering streetlights, rain turning the asphalt into black glass. Her sneakers slapped against wet pavement as she sprinted toward the main road. Footsteps pounded behind her. 2 sets, maybe 3. Her heart hammered against her ribs. A black van screeched around the corner, cutting off her path. She skidded, changed direction. Too slow. Arms locked around her waist, lifting her off the ground. She thrashed, screaming, but the rain swallowed the sound. A hood dropped over her head. Darkness. The smell of stale cigarettes and expensive cologne. Get her inside. Now. They shoved her into the van. The door slammed. Engine roared to life. Who the hell are you? Zara's voice came out muffled through the hood, but she forced it steady. Fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. The men who own you now. The voice was different from the first, smoother, almost bored. Like he'd said these words 100 times before. The van jerked forward. Zara's shoulder slammed against someone's leg. She tried to orient herself, counting turns in her head. Left. Straight for maybe 3 minutes. Right. Another left. They were taking her away from campus, away from anywhere she knew. My phone, she said. Someone will track it. Already destroyed. A third voice, younger, nervous. We're not amateurs. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna and comment where you're watching from. The van stopped. They dragged her out, and she stumbled on unfamiliar ground. Smooth tile under her feet. The echo of her footsteps suggested a large space. An elevator? The mechanical hum confirmed it. Going up. 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 Her stomach dropped with each floor. When the hood finally came off, light stabbed her eyes. She blinked, forcing them to adjust. The room looked like something out of a luxury magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed Seoul's skyline glittering against the night sky. White leather furniture. Abstract art that probably cost more than her entire tuition. Everything pristine, sterile, controlled. 2 men stood before her. Identical faces. Same sharp jawlines, same height, same build. But that's where the similarity ended. The one on the left wore a 3-piece suit tailored so perfectly it looked painted on. His black hair was slicked back, revealing a face carved from ice, high cheekbones, thin lips pressed into a line, eyes that watched her like a predator studying prey. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there with his hands clasped behind his back. The one on the right couldn't stay still. He paced, fingers drumming against his thighs. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms covered in old scars. His hair fell messy across his forehead, and when he looked at her, something wild flickered in his eyes. Zara Adeyemi. The suited one spoke her name like he was testing it. 23. Nigerian. Exchange student. Engineering major. He circled her chair slowly. Your father should have thought about you before he betrayed us. My father? Zara's throat felt raw, but she kept her voice level. My father's been dead for 15 years. The pacing twin stopped mid-step. He exchanged a glance with his brother. Quick, sharp, almost imperceptible. Don't lie to us, the wild one snapped. He moved closer, leaning down until she could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. Victor Okoye, Nigerian arms dealer. Stole $3 million from our organization and disappeared. That ring any bells? None. The suited twin pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. A Korean man with cold eyes stood next to an African woman, young and beautiful. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, sat between them. Zara's blood turned to ice. She recognized her mother. Younger, thinner, wearing clothes Zara had only seen in old pictures buried in shoeboxes. That's impossible. Is it? The suited twin tilted his head. You're Karis Okoye, daughter of Victor Okoye and Amara Chin Okoye. You disappeared with your mother 20 years ago. We've been looking for you ever since. My name is Zara Adeyemi. She met his gaze, refusing to look away. My mother remarried after my father died. I'm a scholarship student.
I have a student visa.
I've never even heard the name Victor Okoye. Convenient. The wild twin grabbed the back of her chair, tilting it. You expect us to believe some random Nigerian student just happens to look exactly like the girl we've been hunting for 2 decades. I expect you to do your homework before you ruin someone's life. Zara's hands clenched into fists. Check my passport.
Call the university.
Pull my bank records. I work part-time at a coffee shop to afford ramen. Does that sound like MAFIA royalty to you? Silence stretched between them. The suited twin studied her face, his expression unreadable. Behind him, a third man hovered near the doorway, older, stockier, with worry lines etched deep into his forehead. He kept glancing toward the windows like he expected someone to crash through them. She could be lying, the wild twin said, but his voice had lost its edge. She could be. The suited twin crouched in front of her chair, bringing his face level with hers. This close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his jaw. But if she's telling the truth, we've just made a very expensive mistake. Then what do we do with her? The question hung in the air. Zara felt her pulse in her throat, in her wrists, behind her eyes. She thought about her mother, about the photograph, about 20 years of secrets she'd never known existed. The suited twin stood, brushing invisible dust from his pants. When he spoke, his voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but every word landed like a knife. If you're nobody, he leaned close, his breath cold against her ear. Then nobody will miss you. He straightened, adjusted his cufflinks, and walked toward the door. The wild twin followed, but not before shooting her one last look, something that might have been regret or curiosity, or both. Jae-hyun, the nervous man called from the doorway. What about? Lock her in the guest room. Soon-ho. We'll figure this out in the morning. Their footsteps faded. Soon-ho approached slowly, his hands raised like he was calming a spooked animal. I'm sorry, he whispered. He pulled an origami crane from his pocket, placed it on the arm of her chair. His fingers trembled. I'm really sorry. Then he was gone. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed everything. The luxury furniture, the city skyline, the faces of the men who'd stolen her life. Zara sat alone in the chair, still bound, feeling the weight of her mother's secrets pressing down like a physical thing. Outside, Seoul continued glittering. Inside, she counted her heartbeats and tried not to scream. The lights came back on an hour later. Zara stood at the window of what they'd called the guest room. Prison disguised as comfort. King-sized bed with silk sheets she hadn't touched. Marble bathroom with toiletries still wrapped in plastic. A door that locked from the outside. She pressed her palm against the glass. Reinforced. Triple-paned. The kind that didn't break even if you threw a chair at it. 30 floors up, maybe more. Seoul sprawled below like a circuit board, all light and geometry and distance. Her engineering professor's voice echoed in her head. When you can't change the system, understand it first. Zara turned from the window and began mapping the room. She tested the door handle, solid, professional lock. Checked under the bed, inside drawers, behind picture frames. Found the camera hidden in the smoke detector within 3 minutes. She didn't destroy it. Instead, she stared directly into the lens, letting whoever watched know she knew. Footsteps in the hallway. 2 sets, heavy. Guards rotating position. She counted the seconds between passes. For minutes, 18 seconds. Then another pair. Different rhythm. One walked with a slight limp, favoring his left leg. The apartment's soundscape revealed itself slowly. Muffled voices through walls, too distant to make out words. The hum of an air filtration system. Somewhere, a television played news in rapid Korean. She filed each detail away, building a mental blueprint of her cage. A key scraped in the lock. Soon-ho entered carrying a tray. He wouldn't meet her eyes, just set the food on the desk and turned to leave. You don't want to be here either, do you? Zara kept her voice soft. His hand froze on the doorknob. For a moment she thought he might actually answer. Instead, he pulled something from his pocket, another origami crane, smaller than the first, and placed it beside the tray. Then he was gone. Zara lifted the crane. The paper was torn from a calendar page. She unfolded it carefully. A date was circled in red. 3 days from now. Below it, someone had written in shaky English, "I'm sorry." The food was bulgogi still steaming. She ate mechanically, tasting nothing, and tried not to think about what would happen in 3 days. Morning came without ceremony. Zara hadn't slept. Couldn't risk it. She'd spent the night testing her own limits, seeing how long she could hold her breath, how quietly she could move across the floor, whether fear would make her hands shake if she tried to hold something steady. They didn't.
Good.
The door opened. Jae-hyun entered alone, carrying a tablet and that same cold expression he wore like armor. He pulled a chair from the desk, sat backwards on it, and studied her for a long moment. "You're calmer than most people we bring here. Most people you kidnap, you mean?" His lips twitched. Almost a smile. "We've verified your story.
Zara Adeyemi.
Student visa issued 8 months ago. No criminal record. Your bank account has exactly 342,000 won in it." He set the tablet on the bed between them. "You're either the best deep cover operative I've ever seen, or we made a mistake. I could have told you that yesterday. You could have." He swiped through images on the screen. "But then we found these." Photos of Zara at a Nigerian community gathering in Itaewon. Her laughing with friends at a Korean-African cultural exchange event. Screenshots of WhatsApp messages where she'd mentioned researching family business for a class project. "I'm writing my thesis on diaspora identity," Zara said. "Specifically, how second-generation African immigrants navigate dual cultural contexts in East Asian countries. My mother's story is part of that research. Convenient topic. It's my life." Jae-hyun zoomed in on one message. "You wrote here, finally getting answers about mom's past and soul. Some things she never talked about." "What things?" Zara met his gaze. "She dated someone Korean before she met my stepfather. He died in what she called an accident. She never gave details. I was trying to find records, obituaries, anything that would help me understand that part of her history."
She paused.
"I didn't know there was crime involved. I didn't know she'd been married before. I didn't know any of this." Something shifted in Jae-hyun's expression, a crack in the ice. He swiped to another photo, and Zara's stomach dropped. Her mother, young and radiant, standing outside a restaurant with the same Korean man from yesterday's picture. He had his arm around her waist. They looked happy. "His name was Kim Jin-woo," Jae-hyun said quietly. "He worked for my father's organization. Low-level at first, collections, security, nothing major. Then he volunteered for an undercover operation in Nigeria. That's where he met your mother. And fell in love. And forgot whose life he was living." Jae-hyun closed the tablet. He was supposed to infiltrate Victor Okoye's weapons network. Instead, he married Okoye's bookkeeper, your mother, and tried to disappear with her. My father doesn't forgive betrayal. The room felt smaller suddenly. "You're saying my biological father was Korean?"
Yes.
"And technically, so are you." The words hung between them like smoke. Zara's hands had started to shake after all. She pressed them against her thighs, willing them still. "Why didn't my mother tell me?" "Because..." Jae-hyun stopped. Footsteps thundered in the hallway. The door slammed open. Min-hyun stormed in, his face flushed with fury. "You told her? We don't even know if..." "If what?" Zara stood. "If I'm telling the truth? If I'm a threat? I'm a student. I live in a dormitory with 3 roommates and questionable plumbing. What exactly do you think I'm going to do?" Min-hyun crossed the room in 3 strides. "You researched your mother's connections to Korean organized crime. You came to Seoul. You asked questions in communities where our people operate." He was close enough now that she could smell whiskey on his breath. "That's not curiosity. That's surveillance. That's a thesis project. Bullshit." He grabbed the edge of the desk, and for a moment Zara thought he'd flip it. "Your father stole from us. Your mother helped him. And now you show up, digging into the past, and we're supposed to believe it's all academic. Believe what you want." Zara held her ground. "But if I was here to hurt you, I'd have done it already." "With what?" "Your stellar GPA. With information." She stepped closer, matching his energy. "I know your schedules now. I know Soonho brings food at 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. I know you rotate guards every 4.5 minutes. I know the limp guard's name is Dae-young, and he has a daughter my age because he talks about her when he thinks no one's listening. She pointed at Min-hyun's chest. I know you drink at night because you can't sleep. And I know you're terrified of something because fear smells different than anger, and right now, you reek of it. Silence crashed down like a wave. Min-hyun's fist was raised before she registered the movement. She didn't flinch, just stared at him, watching the war play out across his features. Rage, confusion, something that might have been shame. Hit me, she said softly. Prove you're just another coward with money. His hand trembled in the air between them. Jae-hyun's voice cut through the tension like a blade. We don't hit women. We're not animals. He crossed the room, gripped Min-hyun's shoulder, and pulled him back. The brothers stood there, locked in some silent conversation that didn't need words. Finally, Min-hyun jerked away and stalked to the window, pressing his forehead against the glass. She's not wrong, he muttered. I am afraid. Jae-hyun adjusted his cuffs, a nervous habit, Zara realized. We all are. If you do the same thing in her situation, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, and tell me where you're watching from. Of what? Zara asked. Neither answered. Jae-hyun collected his tablet and headed for the door. We'll bring lunch. Try not to analyze the meal service schedule.
The door closed. Locked.
Zara sank onto the bed, her legs suddenly weak. The adrenaline was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. She'd stood up to them, actually stood her ground against men who'd kidnapped her, and somehow she was still breathing. She thought about Min-hyun's raised fist. The way he'd stopped. The way Jae-hyun had intervened not with violence, but with words. These weren't simple monsters. They were complicated, broken, dangerous, but not beyond reach. An idea began forming in her mind. Dangerous. Probably stupid. But if she was going to survive this, she needed to change the game entirely. Lunch never came. By evening, Zura's stomach was eating itself. When Soon-ho finally appeared with the dinner tray, she was ready. Wait, she called as he turned to leave. Can I ask you something? He froze, torn between orders and courtesy. Do they have a kitchen here? A real one? Soon-ho nodded slowly. Can you take me there? I can't. I know you don't want to be doing this. Zara gestured at the room. The locked door. The whole nightmare. The cranes. You're trying to apologize without words. So let me make dinner for everyone. One meal. If they don't like it, I'll never ask again. Soon-ho's internal struggle played out across his face. Protocol said no. Something else, guilt, maybe, or curiosity said yes. 5 minutes, he whispered. I'll get in trouble if. 5 minutes. I promise. He led her down a hallway lined with abstract paintings worth more than her life. The kitchen was commercial grade, all stainless steel and professional equipment. Zara scanned the refrigerator, the pantry, her mind racing through possibilities. Your name is Soon-ho, right? She started pulling out ingredients: rice, kimchi, tomatoes, onions, peppers, chicken. How long have you worked for them? 8 years. He hovered near the doorway, watching the hall. Since I was 19. You must have seen a lot. Too much. The words slipped out before he could stop them. He looked startled by his own honesty. Zara started chopping, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. Where I'm from, we have this dish called jollof rice. My grandmother taught me to make it. Red, spicy, brings people together. She glanced at the kimchi. What if I added Korean flavors? Made something new? Soon-ho's curiosity won. He stepped closer, watching her work. That's unusual. Sometimes unusual is exactly what people need. She cooked like her life depended on it, because maybe it did. The smell of frying onions and ginger filled the kitchen. She added the kimchi, letting its fermented tang blend with tomato paste and Scotch bonnet heat. Rice went in chicken stock. The fusion shouldn't have worked, but somehow it did. Taste this, she said, offering Soon-ho a spoonful. He hesitated, then tried it. His eyes widened. This is good. Really good. He smiled for the first time since she'd met him. The expression transformed his face, made him look younger, less haunted. The smell drew others. Dae-young appeared first, the guard with the limp. His eyes went from Zara to Soon-ho to the stove. What's happening? I'm cooking, Zara said simply. Want some? Words spread like wildfire. Within 20 minutes, the kitchen was full of guards, security personnel, even the building's maintenance staff. Zara served them, laughing at her broken Korean, letting them teach her proper phrases. They told her about their families, showed her phone pictures of children and pets and normal lives that existed somewhere outside this violence. She made sure everyone ate, made sure everyone laughed. And when Minhyun and Jaehyun appeared in the doorway, drawn by the noise, she met their shocked stares with calm satisfaction. The twins stood there, watching their carefully controlled world turn into something warm and chaotic and human. Minhyun sat at the kitchen island without being invited, took a bite. His expression went blank with surprise. "This is really good," he said, almost accusatory, like she betrayed him by having the skill. Jaehyun remained in the doorway, arms crossed. But Zara saw the way his gaze moved around the room, his men relaxed, smiling, treating her like a person instead of a problem. She disrupted his power structure without throwing a single punch. "You said you'd own me till I break." Zara leaned against the counter, addressing both twins. "But I don't break. I adapt. And right now, I'm adapting by making your people love me more than they fear you." Jaehyun's jaw tightened. Minhyun set down his fork. The room had gone quiet, everyone suddenly aware of the shift in dynamics. Then Minhyun laughed, genuine, shocked, almost delighted. "She's actually serious." "Very," Zara confirmed. Jaehyun's phone rang. The sound cut through the warmth like a knife. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and went pale. Zara had seen fear in people before. She'd felt it herself in that van, in the dark. But this was different. This was bone-deep, primal terror trying to hide behind a professional mask. "We need to go," he said to Minhyun.
Now.
"What's wrong?" "Father's coming." Jaehyun was already heading for the door. "Tomorrow." Minhyun's laughter died. The kitchen's warmth evaporated. Soonho dropped the plate he'd been holding. It shattered across tile, loud in the sudden silence. Zara watched the twins leave, saw the way their shoulders tensed, the way their careful control fractured at the edges. Whatever was coming tomorrow, it terrified them more than any threat she could pose. "Why does that scare you?" she called after them. Neither answered.
The door closed. Locked.
But this time, Zara wasn't alone. Soonho began cleaning up the broken plate, his hands shaking. Daeyoung touched her shoulder gently, a gesture of solidarity, or maybe warning. The others dispersed quietly, the joy gone from their faces. "You should eat something," Soonho said, "while you still can." The words settled over her like a shroud. Zara looked at the food she'd made, at the empty kitchen that had been full of life moments ago, and realized she'd just won a battle but walked straight into a war she didn't understand. Outside the windows, Seoul glittered in the darkness. Beautiful, indifferent, unaware that tomorrow, everything might change. Everyone out. Jaehyun's voice echoed through the penthouse an hour after the phone call. Guards scattered like smoke. Soonho herded the last of them toward the elevator, glancing back at Zara with something that looked like pity. Or farewell. Then it was just the three of them. Rain began hitting the windows, soft at first, then harder. The sound filled the silence that followed. Minhyun poured himself a drink, whiskey, neat, and downed it in one swallow. Jaehyun stood by the window, hands in his pockets, watching the city blur behind sheets of water. Zara sat on the white leather couch, exhausted but alert. The kitchen victory felt hollow now. Whatever was coming had stripped away the twins' masks, and what lay beneath was something raw and frightened. "You should know," Minhyun said, pouring another drink. "Our father doesn't forgive mistakes." Jaehyun didn't turn from the window. "And kidnapping the wrong person is a mistake." The implications settled over Zara like ice water. "He'll kill me to cover your error." Neither denied it. The rain grew louder. "We're not good men, Zara." Minhyun crossed to the couch, sat on the opposite end, leaving space between them. "But we're not supposed to be. Our father made sure of that." He set down his glass and pulled at his collar, revealing a scar that ran from beneath his ear down his neck. "This is what happens when you show weakness. I was 12. Cried at my grandmother's funeral." He let the collar fall back. Father said crying was for children. Made sure I never forgot the lesson. Zara looked at Jaehyun's back, saw the tension in his shoulders. What was your lesson? I tried to stop him from beating Minhyun. His voice came quiet, detached. Got the same treatment. Learned that protection is just another form of weakness. The words hung in the rain-filled air. Zara understood suddenly. These weren't monsters born, but monsters made, shaped by violence until violence was all they knew how to be. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Min Hyun met her gaze. Because tomorrow, we might have to choose between you and our survival. Jae Hyun finally turned from the window. Lightning flashed behind him, turning his silhouette sharp and hollow. And I don't know which one I'll choose. The vulnerability in those words was staggering. This man who'd kidnapped her, threatened her, held her life in his hands. He was asking for something she couldn't quite name. Understanding, maybe, or forgiveness for what he might have to do. Your father sounds like a nightmare, Zara said. He's a king. Min Hyun laughed, bitter. Kings don't need to be good. They just need to be feared. Is that what you want to be? The question landed like a stone in still water. Both twins looked at her, really looked like they were seeing her clearly for the first time. It's what we are, Jae Hyun said.
No.
Zara leaned forward. It's what you've been trained to be. There's a difference. Thunder rolled across the sky. The apartment's lights flickered once, twice, then held. Min Hyun poured himself a third drink, but didn't touch it. Jae Hyun sat in the chair across from her, and for the first time since she'd been taken, the space between them felt less like interrogation and more like conversation. When I was 7, Zara said, my stepfather tried to teach me to swim by throwing me in the deep end. Said it was the only way to learn. She remembered the water closing over her head, the panic, the certainty she would die. My mother jumped in fully clothed and pulled me out. She didn't speak to him for a month. She looked at both twins. She taught me to swim properly after that. In the shallow end, with patience. And I learned that sometimes the people who say they're making you stronger are really just hurting you because someone hurt them first. The silence that followed was different, heavier, more honest. Your mother sounds strong, Min Hyun said. She survived your father killing mine. Yeah, she's strong. Min Hyun flinched. Jae Hyun's expression remained carved from stone, but his hands gripped the armrests tight enough to whiten his knuckles. We don't expect you to forgive us, Jae Hyun said. For any of this.
Good.
Because I don't. But, Zara considered her next words carefully. But I understand now why you are the way you are. Understanding isn't forgiveness, but it's something. Rain drummed against glass. Seoul's lights blurred into abstract constellations. The three of them sat in that expensive cage, strangers bound by violence and circumstance, and for a moment Zara almost felt sorry for these broken boys playing at being men. Then morning came, and with it, the devil himself. The motorcade arrived at dawn. 7 black cars moving in formation, sleek and predatory. Zara watched from the bedroom window as they pulled into the underground garage. She'd been moved back there after the twins left her alone sometime past midnight. No one had slept. Soon-ho brought her clean clothes, a white blouse, black pants, nothing that would stand out. His hands shook as he set them on the bed. Whatever happens, he whispered, don't look him in the eye. He takes it as a challenge. Then he was gone. Zara dressed, braided her hair tight, and prepared herself for whatever came next. The apartment had transformed. Guards everywhere, twice as many as before, all standing at rigid attention. The casual warmth from yesterday's kitchen scene had evaporated. This was a military operation now. Jae Hyun and Min Hyun stood by the elevator doors, wearing matching black suits. They looked like pallbearers at their own funeral. The elevator chimed. Doors opened. He stepped out, and the air pressure seemed to change. Kang Dae-won moved like a man who'd never hurried in his life. White hair pulled back in a neat top knot, traditional black hanbok flowing around him like smoke. He carried a cane, ebony with a silver handle, but his steps were sure and steady. The cane was performance, Zara realized. A prop to make others underestimate him. His face was all sharp angles and cold calculation. 70, maybe older, but his eyes were young and cruel. He surveyed the room like a general inspecting troops, and where his gaze landed, men flinched. He didn't greet his sons, didn't acknowledge them at all, just walked past them toward Zara, his cane clicking rhythmically against marble. She wanted to look away. Every instinct screamed at her to drop her gaze, show submission, survive. But something stubborn in her, the same thing that had made her laugh in Min Hyun's face, that had turned a kitchen into rebellion, refused to bend. She met his eyes. Kang Daewon stopped 3 feet away, studied her face, her posture, the way she stood without shaking. A smile played at his lips. He spoke in Korean, rapid and musical. Soonho appeared at Zara's elbow, voice trembling as he translated. "This is the Okoye girl?" Jae-hyun stepped forward. "Father, there's been a complication." Kang raised one hand. Silence was immediate and absolute. He continued circling Zara, examining her like she was a piece of art he was considering purchasing or destroying. More Korean. Soonho's translation came quieter now. "You have your mother's eyes, and your father's defiance." Zara's world tilted. "You knew my father? Have you ever felt this torn between family and what's right? Comment your experience and where you're watching from." Kang pulled a photograph from his hanbok. Old, creased, the colors faded to sepia tones. The same Korean man from before, younger, standing beside Kang himself. They were smiling, arms around each other's shoulders. Brothers, almost. "Kim Jin-woo was my best friend." Kang's Korean came softer now, Soonho's translation halting with emotion. "We grew up together, joined the organization together. I was best man at his wedding to your mother." He traced the photograph with one finger. "He was like a brother to me." "Then why did you kill him?" The question came out before Zara could stop it. Min Hyun sucked in a breath. Jae-hyun's expression went blank with horror. But Kang laughed, a sound like ice cracking. Because he chose love over loyalty. He pocketed the photograph. "Your father wanted out. Wanted to take your mother and disappear into some fantasy where the past didn't matter. Where consequences didn't exist." His voice hardened. "But in my world, there is only loyalty or betrayal. He chose betrayal. So I chose his death." The casual brutality of it stole Zara's breath. This man had murdered his best friend as easily as swatting a fly and felt no remorse, only righteousness. "My mother escaped with me," Zara said. "She ran for 20 years. Why didn't you follow?" "Oh, I did." Kang gestured, and one of his men brought forward a tablet. Images filled the screen, dozens of them, spanning years. Zara as a child, as a teenager, at university in Lagos, boarding a plane to Seoul. "I've always known where you were. I was waiting." "For what?" "For you to come back." He smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Zara had ever seen. "Your father left something behind. Accounts, assets, money he'd been siphoning from my operations for years. $15 million, hidden in banks across 3 continents." He stepped closer, all protected by biometric security. His fingerprints, his retinal scan. Another step, or his daughter's. Understanding crashed over Zara like a wave. "You need me to access his money." Very clever, just like Jinwoo. Kang turned to his sons. "You see? She understands leverage. Pity you two are so incompetent you kidnapped her by accident instead of by design." Jae-hyun's face remained impassive, but his hands clenched into fists. Min Hyun stared at the floor, jaw working. "Here's what'll happen," Kang continued, switching back to Korean while Soonho translated in real time. "You will access your father's accounts. You will transfer every dollar, every euro to my control. Then," he paused, letting the silence stretch. "Then I will decide whether you've earned the privilege of continuing to breathe. And if I refuse?" Kang's cane moved so fast Zara barely saw it. The silver handle cracked against Soonho's kneecap. He collapsed with a cry, and guards dragged him aside. Blood seeped through his pants. "That was for hesitating when I arrived." Kang's voice remained conversational. "The next one is for you if you test my patience. Then your new friends from the kitchen. Then anyone else who's looked at you with kindness in this building." He leaned on his cane, casual again. "Or you can cooperate, And only you will die. Fewer bodies. Much cleaner. Zara's hands were shaking now. She pressed them against her thighs, fury and fear warring in her chest. Soon-ho was trying not to cry out, his face gray with pain. What about them? She nodded toward Jae-hyun and Min-hyun. Your sons. What about them? They made a mistake. Are you going to kill them too? Kong looked at his sons like he'd forgotten they existed. That depends. Are you planning to tell anyone about this unfortunate incident? About the wrong girl being taken, the complications, the chaos? He smiled. Dead witnesses make poor gossips. The twins' faces drained of color. Zara understood then. They'd known this was possible. That their father might eliminate them along with her, cleaning up all loose ends with the same cold efficiency. You're going to kill us all. Her voice came steady, surprising her. No matter what I do. Probably. Kong shrugged. But cooperation buys time. Time for prayer, for goodbyes, for peace with your fate. Rebellion only buys pain. He gestured to his guards. 3 of them moved toward Zara. She looked at Jae-hyun, at Min-hyun, silently asking, begging, for them to do something. Anything. Jae-hyun met her gaze. His expression was unreadable, but his hands were still fists. Min-hyun's jaw trembled with suppressed rage. Neither moved. The guards reached for Zara. One grabbed her arm, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. She was going to die. Today, tomorrow, whenever Kong decided she'd outlived her usefulness. These men who'd kidnapped her wouldn't save her because they couldn't even save themselves. Then Dae-young, the guard with the limp, the one with the daughter, dropped his weapon. The clatter echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. I won't do this anymore. Dae-young's voice cracked the tension like thunder. His weapon clattered against marble, the sound impossibly loud. Every eye turned to him. Kang's expression didn't change. Pick it up.
No.
Dae-young's hands shook, but he stood his ground. My daughter is her age. I won't. I can't. Another guard lowered his weapon. Then another. Soon-ho pushed himself up from the floor, blood still seeping through his pants, and reached for the gun at his hip. Instead of raising it, he pointed it at the ceiling and fired. The gunshot deafened everyone. Plaster rained down. Kang's men scattered, some diving for cover, others reaching for weapons. The apartment erupted into chaos. Zara wrenched free from the guard holding her. She stumbled backward, and suddenly Jae-hyun was there, pulling her behind him. Min-hyun grabbed a decorative vase and hurled it at one of Kang's approaching guards. It shattered across the man's face. Get her out, Jae-hyun shouted to Soon-ho.
No.
Zara's voice cut through the noise. She stepped around Jae-hyun, facing Kong directly. I'm done running. I'm done being a pawn.
She pointed at the old man.
You want the accounts? Fine. But I want the truth first. All of it. Kong stood perfectly still amid the chaos, a portrait of calm in a storm. He studied her for a long moment, then smiled. Not the cruel smile from before. This one held something like respect. Lower your weapons, he commanded in Korean. His men hesitated. Dae-young and Soon-ho kept theirs raised. The apartment balanced on a knife's edge, violence suspended by sheer force of will. You want truth. Kong walked to the leather couch and sat, arranging his hanbok with careful precision. He gestured to the chair across from him. Then sit. Let's talk like civilized people. There's nothing civilized about you, Zara said, but she sat. Jae-hyun and Min-hyun flanked her. Kang's guards formed a semicircle behind their boss. Everyone armed. Everyone ready. Your father wasn't just undercover, Kong began. He was my brother in everything but blood. We grew up in the same orphanage, 2 boys nobody wanted. We fought together, stole together, survived together. His voice carried weight now, the authority of a man recounting scripture. When we built this organization, it was ours. Equal partners. Jin-woo wasn't some disposable soldier. He was my right hand. Zara's throat tightened. Then why? Because he fell in love. Kang's hands gripped his cane. Your mother was supposed to be an asset, someone who could access Victor Okoye's financial records. Instead, Jin-woo married her, got her pregnant, started planning an exit. He looked at Zara, and for the first time, she saw something human beneath the monster. He came to me, begged me to let him go, offered me everything, money, connections, his entire network. All he wanted was a life with his family. And you said no. I said yes. The words landed like stones in still water. Everyone in the room went quiet. I told him to go, Kong continued. Take his wife and child. Disappear. Be happy. But there was a condition. He had to make it look like a betrayal. Steal from me publicly, so others wouldn't think I'd gone soft. Then vanish so completely I could never find him even if I wanted to. He paused. It was a gift. The only one I've ever given.
Zara's head spun.
You're lying. He took $15 million from my accounts. Fled to Nigeria with your mother. I sent men after them. Made a show of hunting him. But I always made sure they arrived too late, looked in the wrong places. Kang's voice dropped. For 3 years, Jinwoo had his freedom. 3 years of the normal life he wanted. What happened? Victor Okoye happened. Kang's expression hardened. Your mother's former employer discovered her new identity. Realized she'd stolen information before she left. He went after her, after Jinwoo. There was a firefight. Jinwoo died protecting your mother. He met Zara's eyes. I didn't kill my brother. But I've let the world believe I did for 20 years because it was better for you and your mother if everyone thought you were running from me instead of Okoye. The room spun. Zara gripped the chair's armrest to keep from falling. The money Jinwoo took, Kong said, wasn't stolen. It was severance pay. His share of our empire. He left instructions. If anything happened to him, it would go to his daughter when she came of age. He pulled out a document, slid it across the table. That's you. The biometric security isn't to trap you. It's to protect your inheritance until you are ready to claim it. Zara stared at the paper. Legal documents, bank information, her father's signature at the bottom.
Real.
Legitimate. Why kidnap me then? Her voice came barely above a whisper. I didn't. Kong looked at his sons with something close to disgust. These idiots acted without my knowledge. Saw an opportunity to prove themselves and took it. They grabbed you thinking you were Okoye's daughter, the girl who'd witnessed Jinwoo's death. Someone who could testify about that night. He shook his head. They didn't know you were Jinwoo's child. I've kept that secret for 2 decades. Jae-hyun's face had gone white. You never told us. Because you didn't need to know. Kong stood, leaning heavily on his cane. I was going to contact you properly, Zara. Through lawyers. Give you access to your father's money and let you decide what to do with it. But my sons forced my hand. He looked at Jae-hyun and Min-hyun with something that might have been disappointment. And now we're here. So let her go, Min-hyun said. Give her the money. Fix this. I would, but there's a problem. Kong gestured to the guards, both his and the ones who'd rebelled. Too many witnesses. Too many people who know you made a catastrophic mistake. If word gets out that the Kong twins kidnapped the wrong girl, killed Soon-ho's knee, and nearly started a civil war in my organization, he let the sentence hang. We all die. Not from my hand, from our enemies who'll see weakness and pounce. The truth of it settled over everyone like ash. Zara saw the calculation in Kang's eyes. He was going to eliminate everyone in this room, her, the twins, the loyal guards, maybe even his own men. Clean slate. No witnesses. Unless, Zara said slowly, there's another way. Kong raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. You said my father wanted out because one person leaving makes everyone think they can. She stood, adrenaline pushing back the exhaustion. What if instead of one person leaving, everyone did? You're suggesting I dissolve my organization. I'm suggesting you evolve it. Zara's mind raced, connecting pieces. Your father built an empire on fear. Mine tried to escape it. Maybe the answer is somewhere in between. Transform this into something legitimate. Use the infrastructure for legal business. Let your people choose whether to stay or go. That's naive, Kong said, but his tone was curious.
No.
It's smart. She pointed at Dae-young. He didn't drop his weapon because he's weak. He did it because he's tired. How many others are tired? How many want out but are too afraid to ask? Silence. Then, quietly, hands began to raise. 3 guards. 5. 8. More than half the room. Kong stared at his own men betraying him through silence. His expression remained neutral, but Zara saw the calculation behind his eyes. He was a king watching his kingdom crumble. You tried to own me till I broke, Zara said. But maybe breaking isn't always destruction. Maybe sometimes it's transformation. Kang's laugh was unexpected, genuine, almost warm. You sound like your father. He looked at her properly now, not as a problem to solve, but as a person to consider. He would be proud of who you've become. Then he raised his gun. Everything happened at once. Min Hyun lunged forward. Jae Hyun dove for Zara. The gun went off. The bullet passed through empty air, where she'd been standing a second before. Dae-young tackled one of Kang's guards. Soon-ho fired again, this time at Kang's feet, driving him backward. The apartment erupted into warfare. Furniture overturned. Glass shattered. Bodies collided. Zara hit the ground hard, Jae-hyun's weight crushing the air from her lungs. Gunfire echoed like thunder. She pushed up, gasping, and saw Min Hyun grappling with his father. They crashed into the window. Reinforced glass spiderwebbed but held. Kong was stronger than he looked, his cane forgotten, fighting with the brutal efficiency of someone who'd survived 50 years in this world. But Min Hyun was younger, angrier. He wrenched the gun from his father's hand and sent it skittering across the floor. Jae Hyun was already moving. He crossed the room, picked up the weapon, and stood over his father. His hands didn't shake. His face was stone. Do it, Kong spat. Prove you're strong enough. Stop. Zara's voice cut through the chaos. The fighting paused, guards frozen mid-struggle. Everyone watching. Jae Hyun, don't. He was going to kill you. I know. But if you kill him, you become him. She approached slowly, hands visible. You deserve to be free. Both of you do. Jae Hyun's finger trembled on the trigger. All the years of abuse, of training, of being molded into something cold and cruel, it all led to this moment. Kill or be killed. The only logic his father had ever taught him. Please, Zara whispered. Jae Hyun lowered the gun. Kong laughed. Harsh, mocking. Weak. Just like Jinwoo. Just like. The gunshot made everyone flinch. Kong screamed, grabbing his leg. Blood bloomed through his hanbok, dark and spreading. He collapsed, howling. Zara stood with the gun she'd snatched from a fallen guard. Smoke curled from the barrel. Her hands were steady. I'm not weak, she said. I'm merciful. There's a difference. Sirens wailed in the distance. Soon-ho, pale, sweating, barely standing, held up his phone. I called them, he said. Before the fighting started. I called the police. The apartment went still. Kong clutched his bleeding leg, face twisted with rage and pain. His empire was ending not with violence, but with the law. The mundane, inescapable consequence of going too far. You'll all burn for this, Kong snarled. Maybe, Zara said. But at least we'll burn free. 2 weeks later, Zara sat in Seoul University's library, same spot where this nightmare had begun. Rain fell outside, softer this time, cleansing rather than threatening. Her engineering textbook lay open, but she wasn't reading it. She was thinking about the aftermath. Kong arrested. 53 charges ranging from kidnapping to organized crime. His organization dismantled piece by prosecutors who'd been waiting years for someone inside to talk. And talk they did. Soon-ho, Dae-young, 20 others who'd wanted out but never had the courage until a Nigerian engineering student showed them how. The twins had cooperated with authorities, given testimony, exposed networks. In exchange, reduced sentences, probation, monitoring. They'd be free men eventually. Whether they'd know what to do with that freedom remained to be seen. Zara had accessed her father's accounts. $15 million. She donated most of it, trafficking survivors, orphanages, scholarship funds for kids like the ones her father had been. She kept enough to finish her degree. To live. To breathe without fear. Footsteps approached. 2 sets. Familiar rhythm. She didn't look up, but she smiled. Jae Hyun and Min Hyun appeared on either side of her table. They looked different, less polished, more human. Jae Hyun wore a simple sweater. Min Hyun's hair was longer, softer. They sat without asking permission. Long silence. Rain against windows. The library's quiet hum. Normal sounds in a normal place. We need to talk, Jae-hyun said finally. About what happens next, Min-hyun added. Zara closed her textbook, looked between them. Let me guess. You both want to stay in my life. Both nodded. We know we don't deserve it, Jae-hyun said. After everything. You don't, Zara interrupted. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is what we do now. Min-hyun leaned forward. So, which one of us do you choose? Zara gathered her books, stood slowly. She looked at them. These broken boys who'd kidnapped her, threatened her, and somehow ended up on the other side of hell with her. They weren't good, but they were trying. And maybe that mattered. She smiled, slinging her bag over her shoulder. Who said I had to choose? She walked away, feeling their stunned stares on her back. Behind her, she heard Min-hyun's shocked laugh, Jae-hyun's quiet exhale. The library doors opened. Seoul waited beyond them. Rain-washed, new, full of possibilities she hadn't imagined 2 weeks ago. She didn't look back, but she knew they'd follow eventually. They always did.